Hey, my name is Ben Lewis. It's been almost a week since my ill-fated flight in Beer, India on October 17th, 2024. I'm sharing my story in hopes that it can be a cautionary tale for others not to make the same mistakes. I think the previous couple of weeks of flying around Beer with these big threatening storm clouds actually ended up being benign, kind of lulled me into a state of overconfidence. I ignored multiple clear warning signs that I was in trouble. By the time I reacted, it was too late to effectively change my heading or my altitude. The storm was incredibly violent, incredibly powerful, and I lost all control of my glider. I blacked out somewhere near the top of my climb, I think more from the negative G forces in the spiral climb than from hypoxia. The forces were so strong that I just wasn't even able to sit forward in my harness, and I just hung there arched and resigned. I thought about cutting my lines with my hook knife, but my hands were too cold for that. I thought about throwing my reserve, but I wasn't sure if that was going to help or hinder the problem. I was really just quite sure I was going to die. And my final thoughts of before I passed out or before I lost consciousness were of my family, and I was just so sad. I just, so upset with myself for leaving them like this and for what I was gonna put them through. I was surprised to wake up in a tree, surprised to be alive, hanging in my harness a meter off the ground. It was hailing and my hands were frozen. My vision was very poor. My left eye was essentially blind. I had injured the cornea, either from frostbite or from hail, I'm not sure. But it also had bleeding in the back chamber called a vitreous hemorrhage, and the blood was blocking my vision. So it was, I couldn't even see my iPhone with it. The vision in my right eye, luckily, was mostly intact. I had central retinal bleeding, or retinal hemorrhage, kind of blocking most of my central vision, but I could see otherwise clear around it. And it was clear enough for me to see my iPhone and to navigate the jungle in the light. My right eye would actually go blind a few days later as that retinal hemorrhage leaked into the vitreous chamber. But luckily that hadn't happened on impact, otherwise I would have been completely blind. My left eardrum was ruptured. I had bitten deep into my tongue. I had posterior rib fractures, at least one on the right side, and my left AC joint was separated. And I just had lots and lots of upper back and neck muscle aches and pains. Luckily, though, I had no spine or limb fractures. So in my harness, I pulled out my quick pack tarp that was available to me, and I just sat there breathing on my hands under the hailstorm for about 30 minutes or so. The hail turned to rain and then stopped, and then I made a decision that I needed to get going. I had no reception at all, but my phone was working and I had offline maps showing me where I was. Getting out of my harness and then clawing my way down the jungle river valley, and then finally scaling the ravine wall to reach a point where I had cell reception, all before nightfall, was the most agonizing 2 hours of my life. I was able to contact my friends, who then organized a rescue. A local family came and found me in the dark and on the hillside, and then guided me to their house. They literally held my hand and walked me down the hill for 20 minutes because I couldn't see anything in the night. They warmed my hands up by rubbing hot water and oil on them. They gave me hot fluids. They plucked out all the splinters and plant spines that had accumulated. And I was just so touched by their concern and generosity. And they refused, multiple offers to pay them at the end. My awesome friends showed up to the house about, maybe an hour later with dry clothes, and we hiked down to the waiting taxi after a tearful farewell with the family. I gave the matron of the family a big hug at the end, and she started crying. It was very sweet. Yeah, I feel just so incredibly lucky to be alive and thankful for everyone involved in rescuing me. It's almost a week later. I still have lots of pain, but things are improving. I can, mostly use my fingers again, and my vision is overall improving. All I can hope for is that other pilots hearing this story learn from my mistakes and give clouds and storms the proper respect they deserve. Even if just one other pilot lives as a result of better decisions, then it would give all this some meaning. Yeah, thank you for listening, and safe flying, everyone.